should be on now.
All right, Bridget. You can turn towards Takaji for now, then I'll turn it before we start the class.
Okay.
Okay, I'll text it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Hare
is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
We talked about this. I fixed mine.
Please announce yourself.
धन्यवाद स्वामी भगवान श्री गुरुदेव श्री प्रभुपाद हे श्री गुरु दीनबंधु धनदास ननदत्त करुणायक सिंधु वृंदावन सेनावतार कुशील श्रीरार प्रणय प्रचार अजानुलंबितो भुजो कनक वरदतो संकीर्तनैक पितरो कमलायताक्षो विश्वम्भरो द्विजयो युगधर्म पालो वंदे जगत्प्रिय करो करुणावतारो आनंद लीलमाय विग्रहाय हेमं निबोच्च विसुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेमरसप्रदाय श्री चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते कस्तूरीतिलकमलतपतले वक्षलेन कौस्तुभं नसागरिवर्मुक्तिकं करतले वेणुकरकङ्कणं सावअङ्गहरिचन्दनं सुललितं कन्तमुक्तवली प्रजास्त्रियो परिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपालचूडमणि हे श्रीश्यामसुन्दर शिखर स्मिरहासमेळि मनोहर ललितरसिक मम कृपनिधि स्वप्रिय चरण किङ्करीं कुरु तवाय वस्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञायनादितुं नैवं चरणन्ति यत् किङ्करीषु बहुशः खलु ककवानि नित्यपरस्य पुरुषस्य शकन्दमुनि तस्य करारसनिधि विषभानुजायस्तत्किलकुञ्जा भवनाङ्गनि मार्जनि श्याम भजामि राधारविन्दनेत्रं स्मरामि राधा मधुरस्मितस्यं वदामि राधा करुणाभराजं ततो मम नश्य गतिर्न कवि पतितविहीनोऽयपराधलक्षय क्षिप्तश्च कमरितरङ्गमजे कृपामयि तं शरणं प्रपन्नवृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् संसार सागरे गौरी भीतमं शरणं गतं सवेभ्यो अपि विनिमुक्तं राधे कुरुष्वेश्वरी पंचकल्पतरुश्च कृपसिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, last week we had discussed Jiva Tattva and we began from Paramatma Sandhava. What was it, your name?
Haladar.
Huh?
Haladar.
Haladar Prabhu. Dandavad. You're coming from where?
Flying in from London, but I'm from Estonia.
Oh, okay. Oh, very nice, very nice.
Very
nice. I thought I've seen before.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Kartik. Cool. So we discussed from Paramatma Anuchad 19 last week. I explained last week Srila Jiva Goswami Pad, he utilized verses from the Uttarakhanda Padma Puran, and those verses were then commented on by Jamatri Rishi from Ramanuja Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, and he gave a gist or outline of what is the nature of Jiva Tattva. Just, he's not a demigod, he's not the ordinary human being, he's not the animal, he's not the stavra, which means like inanimate object. He's not also the mind, the senses, the body. He also he's not Gyan Matra Atmaka. Gyan Matra Atmaka means he is not non-existent until he comes in contact with material nature. Because what Jiva Goswami here was doing was he was systematically going through negating all of the different darshans that do not line up with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was negating, because some of them say the Jiva is just consciousness, basically. And when he comes in contact with the material energy, he gains senses and a mind, then he becomes active. This is called Gyan Matra Atmaka. He says, no, he's not that. He's also not his material senses. But he didn't get influence there. Vikar means transformation. The Jiva himself not transforming, but his consciousness by the influence of Maya Shakti has transformed, right? So he's saying that Jiva, under the influence of Vikar, he's not the doer. Like in the Bhagavad Gita verse, Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Savasha Ahankara vimuratma kartamiti manite. So kartamiti manite means he thinks that he's doing. But that's in the material world. Because who's actually doing things in the material world? The modes of nature. The jiva has some desire. But everything is going on by the modes of nature. And then Antayami or the super soul is there and he's witnessing it and he's giving sanction. But the jiva is not the doer. Because if the jiva was the doer, as soon as he got tired of dealing with material nature, he said, okay, I'm tired, I want to stop. You understand? If he was the doer. Because he's not the doer, he cannot stop by his own influence. You understand? So he's not the doer. But ahamartha means, and in a later verse he says he's kartatya, bhoktatva, and jnanatva. Means he has, kartatva means he has the ability to do. So what does the jiva naturally have the ability to do though? Desire and to execute service to God. He does. So in that sense, he's truly kartava. You understand? So then he also said, Eka Rupa Sarupa Bhav. And this is a very prominent verse quoted in Chid Ananda Atmaka. This is all in Paramatma Sandarbha. So Eka Rupa Sarupa Bhav has, different devotees have translated differently. Right? One meaning, Eka Rupa Sarupa Bhav, is everybody's an individual and he's situated in his own swarup. One idea. Because there is a later verse, and in that verse it says, Praktik Setram Bina. Means, Praktik Setra means your own body and your own field of activities. Prakti means each person has his own. So because this line says everybody's an individual, Jiva Goswami would not be repeating himself. So Eka Rupa here means also that his body is uniform. You understand? It means it's not composed of duality. In the material world, is our body composed of duality? Yes. What's that verse? Bayam dvitiya binavesasya ishara peshata vivaryo. Right? Our bodies are dual here because we have our actual transcendental or actual spiritual nature, and then what's imposed on that is material nature. So if anybody asks you, if you're not somewhat trying to practice spiritual life, who are you? People give their name. Oh, I'm married to so-and-so. I'm from this place. Right? This is the natural thing because we have identification with this body. He said, in the true nature of the jiva, this dual identity is not there. So his ekuru, sarupa bhat means that he remains situated in that nature. He doesn't think himself anything else. You understand? And Chit Ananda Atmaka. So Chit Ananda Atmaka implies existence. Because you cannot be Chit or you cannot be cognizant if you're not here. You understand? So Chit Ananda Atmaka here means that the jiva is existing, and in his existence, he's capable of knowing. So in those set of verses also I told there's a unique kind of knowing that the jiva can do. Swashmai Swayam Prakash. Swashmai means that he's able to understand himself. Right? Then Swayam Prakash means, there's two meanings here to Swayam Prakash. One is something that illuminates itself and other things. These are the two kinds of Swayam Prakash. So the example is given of a candle. Does a candle know, I'm a candle, I was bought at Walmart, and the candle doesn't know all these things, right? Yeah, they picked me up to come here so I could work for Kartik Mas. I'm going to be doing the Dhammadarastakam. The candle has no idea. You understand?
It'll work, but...
Yeah, right. We can imply some personality to it, but candle doesn't know this, right? But the candle does two Swayam Prakash functions. It illuminates itself. We can see the candle. And if you turn on all the lights, you can see the oxygen cup nearby. You can see the other thing. You understand? So this is one kind of Swayam Prakash, but it's not Swashmai, which means it doesn't understand itself. But the Jiva Swashmai Swayam Prakash. He can know himself. He can illuminate himself to others. And I can see other people and become knowledgeable about other people also. So here, Chit Ananda Atmaka means this potential is there in the Jiva. He knows his own field, Kshetra Gyan, and he's capable of knowing other things all the way up to knowing who is Bhagavan, what is my religion, all these things. And Ananda Atmaka means his nature is Ananda Atmaka. Ananda Atmaka here means there is no content of misery in his Atma. Misery can only come by the influence of Avidya Shakti. But also Chit Ananda Atmaka means because he's Ananda Atmaka, if Swarup Shakti will come in contact with him, he's capable of experiencing all the way up to Mahabhav. Understand? So Jiva Goswami laid out this outline of what is the Jiva, clearly, according to all Siddhanta. They quoted so many verses, etc., etc. Now, last week I also mentioned Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the line, the Bhaktivinoda Dhara, it is exactly the same. If you read chapter 15 of Jaiva Dharma, right? I'm not going to go through the entire chapter, but I'm going to read segments of it. Basically, what he does in the 15th chapter is paraphrases the 19th chapter, 19th Anuched, same as chapter, of Paramatma Sandarbha. He explains what is the jiva. He explains all the elements of the jiva. He explains what is the meaning of tatashta. He goes through all of these things. Then, in relation to the question that's asked by Brajanath, he then begins to give a description. Now let me read some things first, and then I'll get to the point of why this discussion he then has based on the question of Brajanath is important. First of all, eyes are getting old, so let me enlarge this thing here.
You can get an audio of this on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Up to about
Sri Dandi Maharaj has it.
But you can get these 14, 15, 16 chapters. I listen to them every week.
Audio of Javidharma.
Yeah.
Not Paramatma Sandarbha.
No.
There is a Paramatma Sandarbha lecture by Bhanu Swami.
Yeah, it's pretty encapsulated. You have to actually read it. And there's several translations out, so I would read multiple translations. One thing about Bhanu Swami's translations is that they're just the translation straight to straight. There's not like input, sort of personal input so much.
Good and bad then.
Huh?
That's good and bad at the same time.
To some degree. I mean, because
fidelity to the original work.
it's fidelity, right? In other words, just this is what he said. This is what it, and including in the Salvasamandini in the commentary, this is what it says.
Okay,
Finished.
good.
Right. So which is kind of good, right? Then others give insight into other things, which is also good. There are other translations which give background, like the fact that Jiva Goswami was addressing the Saddarshans of India when he was doing the Sandarbhas. And he was also addressing the defeat of Mayavad. He was establishing the supremacy of Bhagavatama's Mool Grantha of all Granths. He was establishing that. He was establishing the supremacy of Krishna, right? And he establishes the relationship of the Tatashta Jiva with Paramatma. Because first he discusses Paramatma in the beginning of Anuched 19, starts with Paramatma Parikare Shu Jiva Shatasya. The Jiva is the associate of Paramatma. Okay? So this is how, and then I really tuned into this because one time when Srila Prabhupada was trying to explain the whole origin thing, he says, it's just like you were with Krishna in the sense that you were there with the Father. You know what I mean? I can't remember exactly the example. He says, like, just like a person is with the Father in the beginning.
Just like the Son is with the Father before conception.
Before conception. So this is that statement. Paramatma Parikareshu. That because we've come from Paramatma, right? Because we'll explain later on, but Nityasiddha is from Baladev and Golok, from Sankarshan in Vaikuntha, right? They're expanded into the realm by Karnadakshay Vishnu, Mahavishnu. But the actual Jiva is called Paramatma Seshita. He's the remembrance of the energy of Paramatma. And that's why Paramatma stays with the Jiva throughout his sojourn in the material world. But he doesn't interact with him. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita, even though the Super Soul is with every Jiva, what is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's recommendation? Don't try to directly get your information from the Super Soul. Jive Sakshat Nahi Chaitya Guru Rupe. Though Super Soul is there, Chaitya Guru, if you're not yet on the platform of realization, you cannot relate. Therefore, Krishna, Shiksha Guru Hoy, Krishna Mahanta Swarupe. The word Mahant means somebody present before you. Because in India, a Mahant is a successor. Like the Mahant of Radhakund. Right? You have somebody, when they enter Samadhi, they have a Mahant. Right? He's the next person who's manifest to be the leader. So here in this verse, Mahant also means the physical presence of the next person from whom you'll get information. You cannot get directly from Antayana.
This means Guru.
That means Guru.
External manifestation of the
Of
Super
Guru.
Soul.
Right. Siksha Guru, he says.
Yes,
Shiksha Guru will manifest the person, but he'll manifest as Mahant, means before your senses. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said he might manifest before the external senses of the fortunate conditioned souls. So Brajanath, he goes and he meets with Babaji, Raghunath Das Babaji, and they begin their conversation. He asks a question about the nature of the jiva, and Babaji says, "My dear son, oh, you blessed me by asking such a question. The day the jiva first asked this question is the auspicious day on which his good fortune arises." Understand? So, what was the meeting of Sanatan Goswami Pad and Mahaprabhu? What was the nature of the question? Who am I and why am I suffering? It was a twofold question, right? So this is considered when the fortune of the jiva arises, because it's explained, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is explained about Madhurya Kandamini, Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu. Some kind of Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti touched that jiva, or Agyata Sukriti. One example is given of Prahalad in his sadhak group. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained both Nard and Prahlad have expansions which perform sadhana. Right? In the case of Nard, it's very well known. He became the son of a maid servant, etc., etc. But in the case of Prahlad, it's not as well known. But in his former life, he was the son of one Vasu Sharma. And he had connection with one prostitute. And they had an argument. This is how the story is told. And then, in the course of that argument, in the middle of the night, they went out in the rain and they entered one place to find shelter. They stayed in that place throughout the night. They lit one giwit to only have some light. It rained profusely. They had no desire, due to their mood, to eat anything, so they fasted the whole night. In the next morning, they could realize that that place was the remnants of the temple of Sri Narasimhadev. The night that they had stayed there was Narasimha Chaturdasi. And having just lit the lamp was accepted also as a Gata Sukriti Seva. You understand? So like this, every jiva's had this somewhere in their life. But this good fortune comes to its rise. It's explained in Madhurya Kandamini. Sava Sangamena Ratnya Anko Rupa Eva Mati Jayata. I explained this verse before. So Mati means at the time when discrimination comes. The beginning of that discrimination is, why am I suffering?
I have a question. Narad is also a mental son of Brahma.
Right.
And when is he then taking birth with the maid servant?
There's a story told that Nard, in the next birth, when he takes birth from the heart of Brahma as Bhakti, this is Siddha Nard, right? Prior to that, there's, because the Bhagavatam is not chronological, but then it mentions that Nard in the assembly of the demigods. One time he was singing movie songs. That's the way Srila Prabhupada wrote it. Movie songs, Bollywood songs. Right? To the young ladies in the assembly. For that thing, he was cursed to take birth as the son of a maid servant. So he took birth as the son of a maid servant. Then Chatusana, 4 Kumaras, they come to the place where his mother is. He hears Harikatha, Vrinda Seva to them. And this way he becomes a nice.
So that's 4 Kumaras?
Yes. Chatusana were those sages who came. And it's very interesting because there's all kinds of subtleties. I don't want to get too far off track. But the 4 Kumaras, they also represent, both Nard and 4 Kumaras have sort of representations in our philosophical unfoldment. The 4 Kumaras represent Gyan, Yoga, Tapasya, and renunciation. But those 4 things cannot give you praying. They can be used in the service to try to obtain praying, but then in and of themselves without bhakti they cannot give. So though the 4 Kumaras appeared first, only after Nard appears from the heart of Brahma is bhakti actually born.
How was he qualified then to take such a birth?
Who?
If he hadn't ignited bhakti previously.
Here it's explaining that Nard explained that by his good fortune, he says in the verse, by my good fortune, one day these sadhus came, means 4 Kumaras, and I had the chance by good fortune to both render service to them and take their remnants. You understand? So good fortune here is called Yadvichaya. Right? Like in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, there's one verse. Yadvichaya matkateshu jadashadastu yapuman. Right? So Yadvichaya has been described by the Acharyas in different ways. Pujapachara Shraddha Maharaj, when he was here, he gave a very nice explanation from both the commentary of Bhavarta Deepika of Shraddha Swami. That first Shraddha Swami coined this, not coined, but explained this phrase Yadvichaya as Yadvichaya kenapi ati bhagyena. Ati means excessive. Bhagyena means fortune. So he said Yadvichaya means, just somebody has super good fortune. Right? Just like the verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahmanda Brahmati Konya Bhagyavan Jeev. Right? You had such good fortune, somehow you got the association of a sadhu.
Yes, but it's described as unimaginable good fortune.
Unimaginable good fortune.
But you were saying he didn't ignite bhakti. He didn't have any experience of bhakti with 4 Kumaras.
No. Because when he had their association, he did.
Oh, he did.
He's explaining to Vyasadeva.
Because you counted 1, 2, 3, 4. You didn't say bhakti.
Oh, no, no.
Jnana Vairagya.
No, these are what the four Kumars represent.
Ah.
But later on, the four Kumaras then go to Brahma. See, it's like so many backstories going on. The four Kumaras in those four moods, they don't experience bhakti. But they have Brahmananda. They're Brahmavadis. They've realized Brahmananda. But what happens?
They sniff Vishnu's chant.
Not yet. First, they did what?
They cursed. Vijay.
Ha, yes. First, they had Sadhu Sangha of who? Adiguru Brahma. And Adiguru Brahma, because he was realized, he told them about the glories of Bhagavan. Then they developed eagerness, greed to see Bhagavan. So that's when they started traveling. That's the whole story. They get to Vaikuntha, and because they're in a hurry to go, they're going, they didn't even bother to get dressed, and they rush all the way. They come through 6 gates, then they come to the 7th gate. They still only got on their copins, right? And they come in. Jai and Vijay, there's a whole backstory. We get off track, right? The whole backstory. While they were sitting there contemplating, we want to see the glory of our Prabhuji's Aishwarya and his Virya, his power and opulence. We never see this on display. We know it exists, right? And they're always talking Hari Katha to each other, nourishing each other. So then Bhagavan arranges for Lakshmi Devi to curse them. It's like a whole backstory, right? Then the four Kumaras come. Somehow or another, they see the four Kumaras. They're streaking up here in the middle of Vaikuntha. Everything. This is not right. They kidnapped positive. And plus, they're only 5 years old. They didn't do any bhajan life or anything. How did they get here? They didn't take consideration that they've already passed through 6 gates. What 6 gates they passed through? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Maya, Matsya. They already passed through 6 gates of material things by their gyan. Narada is speaking in retrospect to Vyasadeva. Here's what happened to me.
Right.
So he's telling of a previous life. In the commentary, right, in the Sartha Darshini Tika of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, these are not the original forms of Prahalad or Narad. They are expansions that perform a pastime which they point to as sadhak groups. The eternal Nard is Nard. You understand?
Because how could an Siddha have to have
Exactly.
to obtain that form?
Exactly.
So then the eternal Prahlad is the one that actually takes birth
Yes.
in the Shinga's pastime.
Yes.
Maybe with this soul with him.
Huh?
This soul is with him.
What's that?
This soul is with him.
This what?
The
The
previous,
soul.
the
This-
previous, the
Jiva.
previous Prahlad.
Previous,
That maybe
the previous.
No, it doesn't say like that. It says they're expansions to perform sadhak.
Oh, okay.
Sadhak pastimes, right? How that works, we don't want
How
conjecture.
is the couple of Prahlad's parents in the Nrsimha temple?
Update Ram.
No. This is the whole thing. The Shringadev's Lila is eternal. It's gone so many times. Yeah. So now he takes birth in the next one, and the Ishtadev, we're way off track what we're discussing. But the Ishtadev of Prahalad Maharaj is whom? No.
Gopal.
Gopal, yes. His Ishtadev is actually Krishna Gopal. He used to dream about him. The Gopal used to hug him at night when he'd go to sleep. He describes his Pitambar, everything, and how he so much missed him. Therefore, when the Shringadev appeared, he said, look, whatever you decide to come as, this is the perspective that Jayadeva Goswami gave.
Yeah.
Not Jayadeva, Jayadeva Goswami, in Gita Govinda. All those different incarnations, who were they?
Oh,
You're getting Gita Govinda. You're about to discuss the beauty of all of Radha Krishna's Lila. So you want to start now with all Aishwarya Maya Lila? Oh, Keshava Ditra, Narahari Rup, and all. He's saying all of these were Krishna. And he's begging the devotee to realize that the Ras inherent in each of these incarnations is manifest in the original form of Krishna. So at the end of each song of Gita Govinda, he describes what kind of Nayak and Nayika are present in that Lila. You understand this? You read Gita Govinda?
oh, of course, many times.
I've also looked at the pages myself. I've also looked at the pages myself.
I have read once and I've had nightmares since.
Yeah, no, don't have nightmares.
By the way,
Have they go?
I used to do kirtan in the Nimbarka temple in Vrindavan, and they had a song, Sanaka Sanatana Sanata Kumar Sri Narada Muni Paramayuda. The 4 Kumars enlightened.
Nada. Yeah, because they're that Sampradaya.
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that.
They're Kumars.
Okay, let's not get lost. Mati means discrimination. I've been suffering in the material world. Is there any cause for it? Is there any other source of happiness? Why do I keep struggling here? When that arises, that's the good fortune of the jiva. At that time, Antaryami arranges Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Latami. Then Krishna arranges Guru, and Guru arranges for you to meet Krishna. Yeah? So at that time, the real fortune of the jiva arises. Right? So this is what he says to him. Then he gives one verse from Das Mula. I'll just read in English. Just as many tiny sparks burst out from a blazing fire. Now the first thing, let me go on first. Just as many sparks burst out from blazing fire, so the innumerable jivas are like atomic spiritual particles in the rays of the spiritual sun. Now, from that, right away, I'm going to show something here. And this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing in Das Mula Tattva. What is a key word in this whole sentence here?
They come from the rays of the sun?
Can you repeat the sentence?
I want to read it again. Just as tiny sparks burst out from a blazing fire, so the innumerable jivas are like atomic spiritual particles in the rays of the spiritual sun.
The verb, burst.
Nope.
They just said they're part and parcel of Krishna.
Nope.
It's a single word.
I know,
Single
I know,
word.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
Say it,
Like.
say it.
Like.
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 Just
Now
as-
listen how many times the word like comes up.
That wasn't what you were thinking, was it?
Just as.
Like. Listen how many times it comes up. These jivas are non-different from Sri Hari, and they also are eternally different from Hari. The eternal differences between the jiva and Ishvara is that Ishvara is the Lord and Master of Maya Shakti, whereas the jiva can fall under the control of Maya even in his liberated stage. Huh? Due to his constitutional nature.
You're liberated. Now go back to Maya.
Let's discuss it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote it. Let's discuss it. Right? So first thing is the word like. You're going to hear it so many times. What is the word like here? Bhaktivinoda Thakur later is going to explain himself. Remember in Madhurya Kanda meeting we went over 10 types of praman?
Yeah.
And what was the conclusion? That 9 types of praman have some fault.
Helpful, yeah.
There's some dosh there. But are they used in Sastra?
Yes. To
They
compare.
certainly are. They're used in Sastra as a means to explain, but they need to be supported by Shabda Brahman, which is the infallible praman. You understand? They need to be supported, but do they use them? Yes.
Yes.
So this explanation right here is called upamana. Upamana means comparison.
Yes.
What's happened in the past is that you read this, and the conclusion is that we're sparks.
Even in Dharma Dharma explains how they use this.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we look at it,
Yeah.
the jiva sparks, and we all came out from Krishna like sparks. So we're originally sparks. You understand? Skipped over the not read it, not under guidance.
Yes.
Cannot. It just will not happen, you know. Okay. Brajanath, this is an exceptional Siddhanta. He heard it directly from the mouth. This is an exceptional Siddhanta. But I would like to hear some Vedic evidence to support it. What does he immediately do? The Upamana Praman, the comparison of jivas to sparks, it's logical, it's yukti. It makes complete and perfect sense. But is there any sastric statement that supports it? So now he wants a Shabda Praman, right? Still, then he says, and now this is interesting too, but still people will be bound to accept the teachings of Mahaprabhu if the Upanishads can substantiate this principle. In other words, he said, I know, because you said Mahaprabhu said it, so now he thinks, I know Mahaprabhu is God,
Yeah.
I know he's God,
Yeah.
you understand? But the people, ordinary people, they may think, yeah, but is it written anywhere in Sastra? Right?
It's a tricky way of doubting a sadhu, but without doubting them.
Right. But he's accommodating that mentality in the G. He's accommodating that mentality. Right? Then he says, the tattva is described in many places in the Vedas. I will cite just a few. Yatagni chudra vishpalinga vitrur charanti evam evashmat atmanaha savani bhutani vyu charanti. This is from Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad. Innumerable jivas emanate from Parabrahman just like tiny sparks from a fire. Where there's that word, just like. So even in Vedic stuti, right? They're not saying conclusively the jiva is a spark. Saying just like. Why? Because you're speaking ontologically. Ontology, everybody knows what it is? Ontology means to discuss the state of being of something. You're not right? And how it works. There are two portions, or two positions about which the Jiva Purush should inquire. He quotes another verse. Tashyava etasya purushasya dve eva stone. So he just begins to describe another verse. There are two positions about which the Jiva Purusha should inquire. The inanimate material world, Jad Jagat, right? And the spiritual world. The Jiva is situated in a third position, which is a dream-like state. This is called Swapna Sthana. Sthana means situated, Swapna means dreams. Did not the Swapna Sthana, just like philosophy, become a Siddhanta? You understand?
Yes.
This, yeah, right? Because, no, it's there, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we're dreaming. You understand? In the spiritual world, we had a dream. Right? Reading is fundamental. We'll keep going back to that thing. Mm-hmm. The Jiva is situated in the third position, right? Which is called Swapnastana. And that is the juncture, tatashta, which literally means tata, means like a line of demarcation, sta, right? Means situated. Between the other two. Out of the tatashta. And then you look down also and say, yeah, that looks like Orlando.
Like Disneyland.
Yeah, that looks like Orlando. You see the Ferris wheel, Disney World, everything. Then you look up, and because Krishna, what is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Naham Prakasha Shavasha Yogamaya Samamrita. Krishna reserves the right to be covered by Yogamaya. So you look up and everything is just blinding. I don't really know what's up there. Elevator for you, right? Avaranatmaka and Vichepatmaka. Captain brings you down. So this all kind of philosophies develop out of this stuff, right? But still, we haven't captured the point. What is the point here? Is this any of this describing history or actuality?
No.
Is it ontological discussion?
Yes.
It's clear, right? It's ontology. It's not history. It's not actuality. It's ontology. Right? And it's going to come to that point. And very clearly it says it here.
There's an expression. The map is not the territory.
Yes. Right. The military, they say that.
I have a map of the world, and it's
Right.
equal size.
Right.
1 mile equals 1 mile. It's a very big map.
This shloka describes the marginal nature of Jiva Shakti. You understand? Now, if you read it clearly, he's saying, this shloka above, he didn't say it was history or reality, he said it describes the marginal nature of a jiva. So in an ontological discussion, he's giving examples from Sastra, Upamana Prameya, Upamana Praman, comparative explanations of how the nature of a jiva is. Just as a large fish in a river, and this is one of the things that keyed me to this some years ago. How many different stories have you heard about the emergence from Tatashta? I heard one time you come out and you take your time and you look either way and then you made a choice. Other times you hear you come out, but as soon as you come out, you got to one way or the other. Right? You just fell on, you go on the knife, one side or the other. That's it. Boss, you don't get a choice.
There's a ball that went to the well.
Oh, there's the ball went to the well.
Yeah,
Right? You looked in there, you fell in there. Right? That one's kind of far. And then now here he's describing just as a large fish in a river sometimes goes from the eastern bank, sometimes to the western bank, so the jiva is situated in the Karana Jal, means the causal ocean. So sometimes, being there, he swims to one side, looks in the spiritual world, then he swims back to the other side. Okay? And we're not making aparatu upanasad.
No.
But how they're explaining, because all the sages, sadhus, serious people doing bhajan, they understood 10 types of praman. So they could pick out, this is upamana praman, this is arsha praman, this is ativad praman, this is samvad, abhava praman. And so they have all the different kinds of praman. And then the Shruti supports that kind of praman. They know, yes, this is the actual description of something not historical, but an actual philosophical description. Because what do the Upanishads do? They give the philosophy that Upanishad, that brings one closer to the truth. It doesn't say, here's the truth. It brings you to the point where you have to still do what? Realize it. Upanishad. Upa means closer. Ni means to situate or near. Upanishad, sat means closer to the truth. It brings you closer, but if it could give you realization, even in Brahma Samhita very clearly, Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakta. To study the Vedas is doubtful, rare that anybody can get realization of Bhagavan. But Adurlabham Atma Bhakta. But if you somehow become connected to the heart of a devotee, oh, very certainly. Brajana. So he gives this example here. What is the Vedantic meaning of Tatashta, the word Tatashta? Then he explains. The space between the ocean and land is called Tata, shore. But that place that touches the ocean is actually nothing but land. Right? So where is the shore? The Tata is the line of distinction separating the ocean and the land. And it is so fine that it cannot be seen with the gross eyes. If we compare, what is comparison? Praman. Upamana Praman. Right? If we compare the transcendental realm even to the ocean, he's using Upamana Praman. He's comparing the transcendental realm to like an ocean. Right? And the material world to the land, then the Tata is the subtle line that divides the two. And the Jiva Shakti is situated at a place where the two meet. Right? So now whole conversation started to evolve about what actually is the Tatashta. Well, it's a place, like a whole, and it's unlimited Jivas, right? Yeah. So it's like a whole place, there's like a billions of people in there, and they're all waiting to figure out which way they're going to be going, right? They're all figuring out where they're going to be going. Where do you think you're going? Not sure, man. Not sure.
I don't know the whole verse, but I think you know. Maya Nikate.
Nikata Stamaya.
Yeah, because we're near Maya, we're attracted to it. Vaikuntha is not near Maya. There's a whole Viraja, then there's Brahmajyoti, then there's Vaikuntha. They're not near Maya. We're near Maya, so we can.
But also, Nikata Stamaya here means the Jiva being without Swarup Shakti, right, places him in a position of vulnerability. So that's the actual import of Nikata Stamaya. If he has Swarup Shakti, then he'll say, the resident Nityasiddhas, they don't even know there's such a thing called Maya. Never heard of it. That's why if you get back and try to tell me what your experience was, I was in Maya, man, it was terrible. So, really? And then they'll go back and discuss, I don't know what he's talking about. Dude is delusional. His ecstatic symptoms has already started. Okay. All right, so let's get to this. So he describes Tatashta. He's giving so many examples, right? What is the Tatashta Swabhav, marginal nature? So now he's asking, what is the Tatashta Swabhav, marginal nature? And again, if you look back in Paramama Sandarbha, all this has been described. It is the nature that enables one to be situated between the two worlds. This is the Tatashta nature. If the Jiva is imbued with Swarup Shakti, can he in fact exist in a neutral position to Bhagavan?
No.
Not possible. Not possible. Right? Because the very nature of Swarup Shakti invokes love in the Jiva. You cannot be neutral. You understand? Tatashta Swabhav is the eligibility to come under the control of either one of the Shaktis. But now here's the thing. Tatashta is also a natural eligibility for Swarup Shakti. Natural eligibility Swarup Shakti. You understand? So the Jiva has the capacity for both. So now the question is, well then, and I'll just encapsulate things here because we won't have time for questions. So, encapsulating it, the question will come, well, since we're subject to both of them, who decides which one we're going to get and how does it work? Is that the question? That's part. But does that question arise? Yes. How do we decide who's going where? Right?
How do we have full knowledge, but we don't have full knowledge, so we have to make a choice which is based on full knowledge when we don't have full knowledge, although we have full knowledge.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and break it down. Because the next section is here. Let me finish this part out, then I'll explain it. Sometimes the shore is submerged in the river because of erosion, and then again it becomes one with the land because the river changes its course. Now this is a very important statement here. If you took sand and you had river that was running through that, does that sand look like the sand at the top?
Yeah.
Ha! This is such a complete explanation of the nature of the jiva. The jiva outside the influence, right, of material energy, his actual nature shows, and his actual nature is not different from the other sand. You understand? Now, the other sand has become colored the way it is colored because it is dried by what? Sun. Right? So, the wet sand also has to have what before it becomes like the dry sand? Sun. So, even though
Which is the sun.
until that time, though the jiva's nature is like other sand, he is subject to the influence of material energy. You understand? That's the purport of that.
That's why over and over in the sun reverse.
It doesn't happen because when if he becomes liberated by
All the time he says that you do not know if one of these things came in front of you in 1 second you would take because
Yeah,
Krishna is
exactly.
protecting you from not taking these
Sadhu
things.
Sangha
Yeah.
is protecting.
Right.
Because the influence of a sadhu, he said, oh no, I want this thing, right? So, basically, Mayavadis, they're simply free from the influence of material nature, and that puts them back in a position like Tatashta. They still, by the nature of the aparat of Bhagavan, by saying his form comes in the mode of goodness, Aruya Kripchena Paramparam Padantyado Yushman Nadrita Yushman Angraya. They are capable of falling down again because they don't have the shelter of even the Brahmajyoti. They're just situated in the nature where they're not influenced by Maya. But as soon as activity is desired in the heart again, what will happen? Sattva gun will come first. Sattva gun will again employ them. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said they'll fall and become philanthropists, social workers, so many different things. You understand? Those who have obtained Brahmananda means they've obtained the effulgence, Jyoti, of Krishna's root. This attainment, like the four Kumaras, like Shukadeva Goswami in his Leela here, this is the actual attainment that has not only come from Gyan or Yoga or Tapasya, but it's also infused with some bhakti. There's some drop of bhakti there. What bhakti? No committal of an aparad towards Bhagavan. The endeavor this Brahmananda, no taste for the material world can evolve again. So these are two types. Mayavadis, Gyanis, yogis who become free from the influence of material nature. Second category, Brahmanandis, who actually obtain Brahman, the effulgence of Krishna's body, and take Alright, here. Again he says, if the jiva looks in the direction of Krishna, his pure conscious spiritual form. However, if he looks towards Maya, he becomes opposed to Krishna and is incarcerated by Maya. Now who? And you saw Orlando. There it is. I mean, is it even a choice?
No.
So what does looking here mean? Looking here is a So then he goes through several examples to show him what's not Maya. Bear with me. Bear with me 1 second here. After all of this discussion of comparisons and like and this and that, and looking towards the spiritual world, Brajanath gets like some epiphany, and he says, wait a minute.
Light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment. If transcendental entities and material objects belong to completely different categories, how yeah, exactly. Then Babaji answers him. There are different categories of material objects, and the pundits of the Nyaya school consider them each. Oh no, wait a minute, that's not what I'm looking for.
By eternal things, so that
Way to truly understand it is experiential or by realization. Comparison, inference, this thing, that thing, right? And basing it on Sastra, Shabda Praman, to give support to those things, to try to explain the concept, the ontology of the nature of a jiva, right? But actually, all the jivas are eternal. So now a big question arises. Wait a minute, they're all eternal. But you said sometimes some go there, sometimes. No, that is also eternal. Therefore, the jivas who are conditioned
Eternal.
not eternally, but from time without any beginning.
Yes.
Anadi. And those who are liberated are called Nitya Siddhas. Now, Jiva Goswami clarifies that when we use the word Nitya Bada here, it means Anadi Bada. Right? Because the condition of the Jiva is not Nitya. But Nitya Siddhas, is their condition Nitya?
yes.
Yes. It has no beginning and no end. Lucky them. You want to go to the Human Rights Commission or whatever those things are? Lodge a complaint?
If that's the Jiva Commission,
Yes.
between Bada Jivas and Nitya Siddhas.
Yes.
Prabhupada is saying that the Nitya Brahma, he becomes Nitya Siddha, then he's always Nitya Siddha.
Right? So, because the jivas have been from Anadi Kal, influenced by ignorance, their condition of being like that wasn't in any kind of created time and space. So all of these were examples. But now the question is, which was part of the theme for tonight, why did Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and why even now in our Bhaktivinoda Dhara, do they explain things like this? Why don't they go and give all the background details? Why do they explain things like that?
Because it will take the jiva
You would take your seva
so
away.
many years to actually understand this, or lifetimes.
Somebody is in a burning building, and you run into the building, and you begin the explanation of the composition of fire, and its relationship to wood, and how when they meet together this thing extends. And when the particles burn in a certain way, it becomes this. Now, if you're trapped in here, you're also going to experience that. So sit down for a second. And then you understand?
Then there's the air movement in the building.
In the building, right. So don't open door. You understand? So could you imagine it? So now, the triage of the Bhaktivinoda Dhara was one that the movement of Mahaprabhu, the prophecy of Mahaprabhu, would go everywhere in the world. Considering the nature of who knows how long any jiva has to live, was it necessary to repeat the entire Siddhantic basis that Jiva Goswami established? It was not necessary. It was there. So now it's put into utilitarian principle. The utilitarian principle is, every jiva, does he have a relationship ultimately with Krishna or not? Mahaprabhu said, as much. Right? Everyone is Krishna Das. That's an eternal reality. Right? If you have an eternal relationship with Krishna, and you recognize that, come under process of sadhu sangha, you do bhajan, and you do bhajan sincerely under Anugatya, and you realize that is everything encapsulated in being the Das of Krishna present when you become perfect.
Yes.
When you reach Bhav Siddhi, Swarup Shakti, what is that verse? Sudha Sattva Visheshatma, Prema Swayam something about, right? Ruchi Bhir Chittamasanyo, Piraso Bhalavute. Once Swarup Shakti enters your heart, will you know everything? Who am I? Will all that be there?
Yes.
Therefore, that position for the jiva is called by our acharyas the constitutional position. You understand? And therefore they said, basically now, your condition, suffering and maya. But in your constitution, there is a beautiful form, blah, blah, blah. Do bhajan strictly under guidance of Guru Sadhu strictly, and you will realize your constitutional position. In your constitutional position, your everything is there. So they shorten the entire thing to this much. Do bhajan under guidance and realize your perfection. We have a hard enough time doing that. What to speak of trying to navigate the entire Siddhantic portfolio of Vedic philosophy. Right? So I came to Bhakti when I was like 21 years old. Right? That's already 20 years too late, and you don't know how long you're going to live. Right? Prahlad Kumaracharya, what's the verse? Kumaracharo. Kumar Acharya Dhamma Pragyanyo. Right? You don't know how long you live. So you should start Bhakti Kumar Acharya Dhamma Pragyanyo right away. You understand? So we already came late. Gurudev also, Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, how old was he? 70s. Prabhupada, I don't know how much longer Krishna will allow me to stay to save these jivas. Here's the, wait. So look, at first day of class, come on in, we're going to go through the Sandarbhas. Starting Tattva Sandarbha.
We'll get to Paramahansa.
Yeah, we'll eventually get to what your situation is. You understand?
Yes.
No, look, right now, you're suffering here. You believe this world is real. It's
Extreme mercy.
Extreme mercy.
Yeah.
I know all Siddhanta. I'm going to give you the nutshell thing. You do this right here. Boom. And you can, in this life, have some realization, something, and therefore start to actually move, progress. Right? Just like anybody who's working as a paramedic, and you get to a situation where triage is needed. Anybody know what triage is?
Yeah.
Triage when there's emergencies and you select who's most, right? So the gurus are like that. Our acharyas like that. They're doing triage to fulfill Mahaprabhu's prophecy. When you get there, you don't go to a person and start talking about, yeah, I went to medical school back at Cambridge, and then I graduated, and then we did this, and yeah, I'm going to perform the 4-stitch sutra right now on your head. It's busted wide open. Right? Nobody does all of that. I'm being facetious, but they don't. Immediately they're going one patient to another, patch this person up enough for them to survive, and then they're hoping you can get to the hospital. Hospital means bhajan life. Then in bhajan life, you can start to recuperate, they'll give you fluids. Right now, they have something called TCCC. It's called Tactical Combat Care. What is it? Oh, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. That means if somebody's wounded on a battlefield somewhere, you get there, you tie a tourniquet on, there's no more cleaning the wound, starting an IV, none of that. You get there, you drag them out of danger, right? You put a tourniquet on, put a time stamp on it, and get them to the hospital. Wow. That's it, boss. There's no washing it, cleaning it, nothing. Somebody has a gunshot wound, they have something called Celox or either Quick Clot. You take it, it's like a substance. You pour it in the wound, pack it down, it clots up the wound, put a tourniquet on it, put a time on there, that's it. In the same way, Guru's looking, you don't know how much time you have left, I don't know how much time I have left to help you. Right? Do bhajan now, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in the end of this chapter, everything will come in realization. Even if I tell you, you won't understand. And I beg you, don't inquire about this, and don't try to use mundane logic and everything to understand it. Do bhajan and realize this thing.
See, because again, the amazing thing is that, again, when understanding the whole unfoldment, what's amazing is that it's all Krishna's leader.
This is Srishti Lila. And he also mentions in there, I think it's in the next chapter, 16 chapter, he mentions the average jiva would not be able to accommodate that fact. They would have blamed Krishna.
Yeah.
That, oh, he's at fault because he put me in this condition.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's only after this level of realization that the devotee can then say, if it was for the pleasure of Krishna, how could it be any suffering?
Yes. And there is also no such a thing as right and wrong.
Exactly, from Krishna's perspective.
They'll think God is mean.
Yes.
That's why this has to be very careful.
Yes. Good things, good things. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah, yeah.
You understand? And everybody by nature of false ego, I'm only deserving of the best. Why am I suffering? The difference between why am I suffering, considering that I don't deserve to suffer, and the inquiry of Sanatana Goswami was, because I think I'm this body, Kehami, I don't know who I really am, even though people say I'm learned. Please also now, Mahaprabhu, tell me, why am I suffering? Then Mahaprabhu can give actual spiritual content. The nature of the intimacy of Kama Krida. Right? Do we have any experience of even what is Bhav? No. Right? I still don't know what is Nishta. So Prem is a substance, it's a Vastu. And the transformations, Vikar of that Prem, has anybody ever experienced it? Therefore, poets, Kavis, they put it into poetry to give Udipan to those who can experience it by hearing the poetry. So if you read that kavya, what will be suitable for ras? And then you have to understand the definition of ras. Vyatiti bhavana vatma yaschat makara bharabuhu Ride satvale jale bhadam Ride satvale sattva ujwale. Sattva ujwale means the heart has become illuminated by Sura Sattva. So now the heart being pure, the ingredients of rasa can come. What is one ingredient of rasa? Alamban and Udipan. So Udipan means those things which stimulate praying, stimulate love for Krishna. So a pure devotee, if he will hear Gita Govinda, right, all the verses, then in his heart, the vikars of praying will come there. If we hear it, the vikar of the vipario energy will come. Vipario means the misconceptions.
Can I ask one thing? In 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, in Venugit,
Yes.
there is also one shloka that says pretty much the opposite. It's
Oh yeah, right.
how to reconcile the two.
Because here it's saying, Sharanvito Nushunu Yad Vana Yatyaha. Hearing with faith. Because for the Sada, beginning on those Shraddha, every step after that, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Nartanavritti, Ruchi, it's all advancement of Shraddha. Hearing that Harikatha from who has Paramantik Shraddha, and you having Shraddha, it will purify your calm.
But that's hearing. But okay, let's say Gurudev...
Hearing, reading under guidance, saying...
Okay, reading, but let's say Gurudev has said so many things about the subject, right? And us, and we're trying to preach in Gurudev's line like this, we repeat all these things that Gurudev said word for word about these pastimes. I mean, is that the appropriate...
Two things. Any party who's speaking, who are they speaking for?
Yeah, the audience.
No.
I mean, that's very important.
Any person who's speaking Harikatha, speaking for their own edification, to remember what Gurudev said, devotees are kind enough to sit there and listen and be reminded. I can't. That Abhiman will also come.
Yeah.
So when that Abhiman comes, it doesn't come alone. It comes with the Abhiman, and you're also not bad to look at. You're your bank account is, it's not bad. You're pretty, overall, when I think about it, you're not a bad person, really. So all of that comes with it, right? And it's hard to recognize. That's why Raghunath Das Goswami said, Pratishta Asha Drishta Swapacha Ramani Ridi Mainate. If anybody could see a chaste woman and then see a prostitute, it's a clear difference. It can enter your heart. As bad as that thing is, it can enter your heart. Then Katu Sadhu Prema Sprashakti Suchir. How will Nirmal Prem or Sadhu Prem come in your heart? So then what you speak will no longer be actually even a repetition of Gurudev's Harikatha. It will be only your Abhiman. What do you think now? Oh, that was an amazing verse. That will actually happen. It happens anyway. Right? But under intelligence, you'll say, oh, not my Harikatha. Like I told you, North Carolina, Gurudev did not come to that. Gurudev is not, so then Gurudev knew. Gurudev says, I am speaking. They're only repeating my words. So he wanted that to be clear. So we should never think I'm giving Harikatha, I'm speaking. This is actually Ishtagosti, really. And if I'm remembering something of Gurudev, I'm verifying and doing edification for myself in the association of God brothers and God sisters. And then if any mistake is there, they can correct. And then you'll be very happy. My God brother, God sister are concerned. Mukundan Prabhu, but you said this, and this seems like this. Then I could look to see, and we can even discuss. You see? And if we cannot reconcile, we then wait any more advanced senior devotee comes. To Harikata. I'm speaking Harikata. Already I know there's issues.
In the beginning of Back to Godhead, a few months issue, they were just mimeographed and stapled together. And then we asked Prabhupada, would you write an article? Usually the chief editor-in-chief writes an article in every issue. And he says, are all your articles based on what I have taught you? I said, yes. He says, then I write all the articles.
I told a story once. I went to Prabhupada, they were mentioning all the nice articles they're writing in BTG, but they thought Srila Prabhupada himself should write an article. So then Srila Prabhupada said, well, you know, Paramatma Sandarbha. He established what is the jiva, then he also showed this use of various kinds of praman supported by Shabda Praman, right? And he showed by the very nature that all of these things are used to explain which is actually something that's realized. And then in the end of that, he concludes by saying, don't try to completely grasp it simply by explanation, it has to be realized. Then in chapter 16, when he asked him, why did Bhagavan do this, which is the
This is from Jaiva Dharma or Sandarbha?
This is from Jaiva Dharma. Chapter 15, 16, and 17. 17, he describes how the jiva is released from Maya. Right? That when he meets Guru, when he meets Sadhu, then by the influence of that Sadhu, he gets mati, discrimination. Mati in Sanskrit also means inclination to begin serving Bhagavan. It's called Krishna Seva Vasanam. From that time, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is that verse? Malikana se bija rupam shravan kirtane jale kariye shekon. That now you become like a gardener, you get the seed, which is mati, from association of Sadhu Guru. Now planting that seed and doing bhajan life, gradually realization begins in stages from Shraddha, what is Sadhu Sangha is realized, then what is genuine bhajan. By the influence of genuine bhajan, anarthas of their own accord go away, not a separate level. Then Nishta will come. When Nishta comes, it means the freedom from the anarthas, and that causes the lack of vikshepa, means distractions, oscillation, and all of that. Then Ruchi can find its way. So then Ruchi in bhajan comes, then Ruchi in the object of bhajan comes, then that thickens and becomes Ashakti, right? So deep attachment. Then in the stage then Bhagavan bestows his mercy, Surasattva Visheshatma, a ray of praying comes down, and that ray of praying illumines the heart, and everything, which is the constitution of the jiva, is revealed to the jiva at that point, right? And the potential for that was always there in the jiva, right? That settled the whole Swarup issue, because really, I told you like 3 or 4 years ago, I was having this debate very heavily, everything, and one devotee wrote me a thing, and he said, hey Mukundan, so what are you saying? This Deha's in the pocket of the jiva in his heart? I was like, well, he's just being sarcastic, and you know. So I started to write back like a heavy answer, right? Then I thought about it. Actually, I mean, when you look at the argument all the time, we're not being specific with what they said. I just assume that, you know, because you're under the impression that that side, this side, this side, that side. Right, so I just assumed that it was just like a snark at Bhaktivinoda, right?
Yeah.
Then I thought about it. No,
I have a body, I have all these things.
that's what we didn't think what concept. But every time that Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, and others talk about it, they preface it with the word in the. None of our acharyas ever said that, and the whole thing died down.
Yeah, it just makes so much clearer.
It makes it clearer. The English words are a little obfuscating.
You remind me of, I was in Vrindavan with Bhakti Sridhar Maharaj, and I said, Maharaj, there's so many discussions about these things, you know. And Maharaj looked at me, he said, once you understand the whole picture, he said, your mixture for good is worse, it will go more.
Yeah.
He said, you will believe that your Swarup is within you.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that threw me off completely.
Yeah.
I was
Because
what do you mean? You say that.
You say it all the time.
Yeah. But then he said like this, then your Nishta for Guru's words will go even more harder. Because you understand the whole picture.
You understand? It's clear. It becomes crystal clear.
Because
I mean, when he wrote that
last week, and I was like, wow, this is.
They always preface this word. Now, sometimes in discussing, they'll also say in the jiva. But in Param Gurudev's explanation in 1955, he makes it clear. We read that last week. Hari Bol Prabhu. he made it clear. He says, what is the constitution of the Jiva? When Ladini and Samvit descend, that I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like clearly written here, everything. Understand? So that's
something else, Gurudev, just like you're saying, but the language Gurudev would always say that the English language is like a lame, it's crippled.
It's very crippled.
Can't,
It's very crippled. But that's one of the good things that I think is happening now. I think they're trying to put together information to make all of that clear.
Yeah.
What actually Gurudev was saying, what is the clarity of this, and hopefully that makes it clear that there's not really a debate or an argument or these things like that. It's really clear,
A point
It's
to
clear
like,
conception.
discussion. I mean, sadhus do this. Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kind of
it's good.
figure things out.
I mean, there's definitely differences of nuance in terms of practice and angles, and there's also angles of vision to look at it.
Yes.
From the angle of vision of a sadhaka unfolding is one thing, from the angle, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, they would speak
Yeah.
from the absolute side,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of times they would speak from the absolute side to shorten the distance between the unfoldment of the jiva.
Yeah.
So they would speak from, you are this.
Yeah.
You understand? You are this. You just have to practice it and realize it. Right? So, and the reason they do that is, and just like even Srila said, in this life, you can go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
You understand? This is to put the jiva on, because what is the urgency? And from their angle of view, compassion-wise, is losing 99 to 2. All right, this is the fourth quarter. We can do it. What is the coach supposed to say? And other than that, the coach could just say, look, just everybody take off the uniforms. Okay, we're not going to bother this. We'll save 15 minutes. Let's go take a shower, get over early.
There's an example that language is like the reverse side of a tapestry. All the threads are there, the colors are there, but you can't quite make it out.
Yeah.
But if you look at the front side, it's a clear picture.
Yes. All right, any questions? Any other questions? Comments?
Later on in this chapter, who's
I'll
the
repeat the
disciple?
questions.
Rajanath is his name?
Brajanath is
Rajanath asked, every angle. Well, why didn't Krishna make it better? Why couldn't Krishna make it easier? Why does Krishna make it so hard? How come? And there's answers for every angle question that would come up in the devotees.
Okay, so can I just do a quick summary?
Mhm.
Just so I can just do it in my head?
Yes.
Just really simple summary.
Yes.
The deficit of language to describe eternality can only be represented by ontological conceptions.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
What else we use to explain? We don't have the experience. We've never seen it, been there, anything. So you don't have that.
Same with back to God. No.
I got
Yeah.
here, I did the story. Imagine a stainless steel globe 10 times bigger than the sun. And every 10 years a sparrow comes by and brushes his wing on that stainless steel globe. When it's all worn away, that'll be the end of time. That's still relative.
It is.
But
And you know what this is
that's
called?
a long time.
And you know what that's called in the Praman list?
Well,
Chesta. Chesta means how big is the Ganga? Oh, the Ganga's like this. It's a description with a pictorial bodily image. It's called Chesta. Right? Say, how big is it? Oh, it was like this. Right? And when they say, how tall are your Takaji? People go, oh, Takaji is like this. Right? And people, you don't turn your other hand over the other way because it's considered like aparat Takaji.
Yeah, blessing.
Yeah. Not, also blessing and also limiting. It fits in the space. So here shows that there's unlimited size. Right? So this is Chesta. Right? So it gives some actual measurement, but actually Takaji is what? Takaji you cannot measure. But it's like, Prabhu?
Yes, Gurudev used to say many times, you died all, millions of lifetimes, eating, sleeping, making, ending. Just give me one lifetime, give me just this lifetime, and you will see what happens. You will see the results. Also, when we practice, we should understand, if we don't practice sincerely in this lifetime, all the suffering, birth date, old age, disease, adidayika, adibautika, adhyatmika, we have to go through it next lifetime. And next lifetime and next lifetime. We have to practice with the urgency. We have to put the urgency and the sincerity.
Buddhists mentioned that we have to practice very sincerely, because if not, we have to repeat the whole material cycle over and over again. And if you don't practice with urgency, then we can't get out of this. I'm repeating on the phone because you don't have a mic over there.
Instant replay.
I'm repeating on the phone for them what you're
Oh,
saying.
okay. Well, I was just saying that if we don't practice with the urgency, I mean, like Srila Prabhupada gave the example with the little bird, the ocean took the eggs with the little.
This is a good example, a famous example that one sparrow came to the ocean, and this is to show determination and urgency. That when the ocean took up the eggs of the sparrow told the ocean, give back my eggs, or I'll drink you up. Of course, because the sparrow was so tiny, it was ridiculous, but then he was backed up by Garuda, and that, of course, forced the ocean to immediately give back the eggs. All right, any other last questions? How many? Dandavats, Puji. Everything clear? Boss. Jai Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jai Shri Rupa Guru Vaga ki Jai Satchidanand Gaur Hari ki Jai Shri Radha Govinda Dev Shri Radha Yogi Hari Ju Shri Radha Baladev ki Jai 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 Shri Radhe Hari Hari Bo Hari Bo Dandavats devotees. Any last questions on the phone? Hari Hari Bo.
And there's plenty of prasadam if you guys want a plate or two.
Oh yeah.
Long time no see. Long time. Like last night we saw.
What's that?
Chris, yeah, I have to go and help him.
Okay.
Come take a shot.
I'm driving with you home, but I'll see you. You'll be here for how long?
How long are you staying for?
About 2.5 months.
Oh, very good. Oh, very
Yes,
good.
yes. Your glory's all the way in London. Right before I start coming, I heard about you. Oh, in Florida, there's one.
I'm sorry you had to hear that. I'm sorry you had to hear that.
It's really good. We can't remember his name.
I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Oh, his name was Mukundan, I think. Yes, yes.
I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Yeah, with this. Dinesh Prabhu, you gonna take something, or are you gonna just head out?
I don't need anything, but if you want to eat.
No. I just want to know. No, I'm good. It's too late.
I was told by Advaita that you maybe
I'm
would help
at
me
the age where it's better if I renounce.
Yeah, well, but that's exactly what I'm saying. It's the same thing, because I'll be sorry about it in the morning.
said I'm gonna try to sell it so I can buy the land.
Even when I'm trying to sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah, may have some information to
It's a like commercial bid usually?
Yeah.
I'll ask him when he returns. I'll ask him when he returns.
Okay.
They at one point were doing sugarcane growing on their property, but not anymore. They sold the property. But the Russian devotee also who bought the property may be interested.
Okay.
Right? But I'll ask Vamsi also when he comes.
I'm looking for like 1,600 for it. It's 2,500 grand new. But like I just need this last. Yeah, I just need this last 6,000 to be able to buy the land. So